Shawn, where are you?
Do not break the stillness of this moment, for this is a time of mystery, a time when imagination is free and moves forward swiftly, silently. This is
The Soul of Detroit.
Interrogative question around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now, Elrick?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elrick back with a very provocative episode of The Soul of Detroit, where we're going to be dealing with some very thorny issues, from what to do with a frozen embryo when love is gone, what to do with some in-laws or future in-laws who look like they're out to bankrupt you before you even get to the wedding ceremony, and then what do you do with some neighbors who love to party even when it's time to go home. All that and more brought to you by David Hall and Luke Nowacki. And we're going to also get into some stuff that, of course, your feedback, lots of great feedback as always. And Amani Bates, who you may have first heard his name on this podcast when we started out a few years ago, because Shawn dialed in from a gym where Amani Bates was playing, and we're like, "What are you doing? You're with Emery King? What are you doing?" He said, "No, I'm with this kid named Amani Bates. He's like really special." And we thought, like, special needs, like he's going to score a touchdown at the end of the game. He's like, no, he's really good. And then he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and then he was going to Michigan State, and then he wasn't, and then he was going to Memphis, and then he didn't, and then he's going to Eastern Michigan University, and we think, oh my God, this guy's career is over, and maybe not so fast. So Shawn's going to tell us a little bit about that before we go. But I also want to...
Shawn is here. He hasn't said a word, but he's here.
No, because I was waiting for the... Can I add one more tease?
Oh, okay.
Because we got a late minute.
Here we go. This is the wild card that is Shawn. We have
out.
no idea what this is going to be.
He's already found the chocolates.
I just want to add a little bit to the suspense here. All right, so we got a request, and it's from Aaron, and he said, "Is it too late? Have you started filming yet?" And if it's not too late, he wants to shout out Marc and me. Both seem like solid dudes. I'm on the fence about ML. Sometimes he seems chill. Other times he sounds like a prick. Can you fellas, and then I'm going to leave it there, and we'll get back to this at the end of the show.
So Aaron's going to get a slap, so I hope that helps.
He didn't call you little brother.
I hope that helps tip the balance.
So it's a question for you about elections and that sort of thing, and Trump. And,
is it Aaron or Aaron?
Aaron.
Aaron. Oh.
Is that
Aaron. Balake, right? Wasn't that another one?
That's right. In fact, I played volleyball last night with Balake Pollock at Detroit City Fieldhouse. He's on our volleyball team.
Oh God.
He goes by Blake because he lives in Rochester. But if he didn't, he might be Balake. In fact, I met Keegan Michael Key at the soft opening for Third Man Records, and I went there. It was on Thanksgiving, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago. I had 2 passes because our friend Ben Blackwell was putting it, and he put me on the list. Neither one of my daughters wanted to go, which resolved the dilemma of which daughter gets to go. And then I just kind of was there on my own hanging out, and this guy comes up to me and says, "Hey," and we take a picture together, and I was like, "Oh, who's that?" So he said, "Oh, that's Keegan Michael Key." I'm like, I didn't have cable at the time, so I'm like,
you didn't know?
So yeah, I was like, oh, is he an English guy? It's a lot of names,
That's great.
And so I have a picture of me and Keegan Michael Key, and all I can think is right now he's telling us, I got a picture of me and ML Elrick. How's that, Aaron?
Did I ever tell you that story? Have you ever heard that story about my dad?
Thank you, Aaron.
When my dad met Matt Damon and had no idea it was Matt Damon and talked to him for about a half hour. He would always go to the All-Star game as a media representative. That's a whole nother story. And when it was at Fenway Park, it's just the day before when they do the home run derby and all that stuff. And he's out on the field. My dad will chat with anybody. He's just an old man. And he starts chatting with a guy and had a lovely conversation like 2 weeks later. Watching TV with my mom, he was like, "Who's that guy?" She's like, that's Matt Damon. Everybody knows who Matt Damon is. He's like, oh, I talked to that guy for a half hour about baseball. And I said he probably enjoyed that because nobody asked him about movies and he just wanted to talk about baseball.
I have a question for you, if I may. Is this
just ask the question?
Yeah, you're just gonna plow ahead anyways.
Well,
it's like when Teresa says, "Hey, can I ask you something?" It's like, no, you're just gonna ask me. My answer doesn't. Really
if I may, so
yes, sir.
Is it inflation?
Buy your leave.
Because normally you've got like not a Red Bull, but you've got a brand name drink. Today, today you have something from Costco. It's a Costco brand. Are you?
Wait, you don't know about my love for Costco? Everything I buy is from Costco.
Is it inflation? Are you pinching your pennies?
No, I just love Costco.
Okay, well that's good. I like Costco too.
Yeah, that's why I have behind ML somewhere. There's
I like the 100-pound bags of frozen shrimp.
I love it all.
Yeah,
I could spend all day in a Costco. I'm just that kind of person.
You do because I know you.
That's where I get my Monster.
I know you run hot. So do you go back into the giant cooler section to cool off a little bit?
Maybe.
Okay. And what do you take some edibles and just go back and hang out?
What? No.
No. You just smoke a little bit and then do it.
No. What are you talking about? I don't want to buy everything in the store. If I did that, I really would never leave.
That's how do you like them apples?
Yeah.
Did Matt say that to your dad?
I don't know. I wish he would have.
What, like apples, Mr. Fellhauer?
I got a number. I can't do the Boston accent. Sorry.
That's tough. It's tough. Well, so we're way off the rails already, but I was talking to a guy last Friday.
Wait, thank who?
What?
Huh? No, I thought you said thank. Oh, yeah, sorry.
So I was talking to a guy last Friday in East Lansing who was working at the Detroit Wing Company on Grand River Avenue, and all the football players had gotten like meal cards, and they came in and they're ordering tons of stuff, and this guy...
Bone in or boneless?
I'm not sure. So this guy, it does to Shawn. So this guy comes up there and orders some food, and he's going to take his order, and he's like, okay, can I get your name? And the guy's like, Peyton. He's like, okay, Peyton, I'll call you when it's ready.
Oh.
So the guy goes and sits down. He looks kind of bewildered, and he actually, and I think my guy's telling us the truth, comes up to him and says, you're the only person who didn't know I was Peyton Thorne. And it wasn't like an arrogant thing. It was just sort of like, oh, that's kind of interesting that you don't know who I am.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, Peyton Thorne, here's your wings.
I thought you were going to say Peyton Manning because he was doing an exorcism at Ford Field recently with Jeff Daniels, putting whiskey in a tub to try to remove the curse of Bobby Lane.
What? Oh. What?
You didn't see this?
What is this a bit for?
Nothing. I don't know who.
I don't think he was really there trying to reverse the curse.
They literally were in the end zone at Ford Field. They were talking about the Bobby Lane curse. They brought in Epsom salts in a bathtub with water, and Peyton Manning said, no, it needs to be whiskey because Bobby Lane liked whiskey. We got to remove the curse. I saw the footage of it.
But
unless it was fake,
Field when
like the moon landing.
Bobby Lane was dead before they built Ford Field. It seems like they'd have to do that over at Tiger Stadium.
Sounds like a bit for the Manning cast.
Well, no, but it'd be wherever. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Wherever the Lions are playing, that curse is going to hover over them, right? So it's
so stupid.
Yeah,
I hate.
You don't like that kind of thing?
What, a curse? Because it's not real. It's not a real thing.
You feel the same way about religion?
Huh? Well, we want to go down that road.
I thought we might get in trouble with the frozen embryo. Now we're just going straight to the existence.
I'm sorry. No, let's get back on track. I'm sorry to make it entertaining. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a nice change of pace. That little set piece about the drink was fascinating. Is there a deposit on that can? That's all I want to know.
Of course.
No, I just wondered if you were feeling inflation and watching your pennies. And
I think seriously, I think everybody is feeling inflation and watching their pennies.
Except for Mike.
No, believe me. I think it's just a reflection on our inability to bring some new sponsorship money into this show. I think a couple years ago, before the pandemic, Mark could have had Red Bull. He could have had whatever the hell he wanted. Now it's Costco, and pretty soon it's going to be whatever Aldi's energy drink is.
Yeah.
Can I ask you an opinion on inflation?
It just says drink, like in Repo Man.
I'm really fascinated by the election and inflation. That is a thing that would always work and get people motivated, right? To flip at the midterms. So the deal with inflation, is it, because it sucks. I mean, everybody's paying more. We see it. Everybody feels it when they go fill up their car or go to the grocery store.
I do have a take on this.
Is this because there haven't been mass layoffs? People still are working?
Because weirdly, the unemployment level keeps going down? Do you think that's part of it?
I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Is the society absorbing it easier?
I have a thought, but I want to hear Mike's first.
Well, one reason why people are being paid more, so you have better ability to pay the higher prices, even though, I don't think anybody's receiving raises that are commensurate with the increase in prices. But Teresa and I were talking about this, I think on our way to a funeral of all things, but at any rate, she was talking about inflation, and I said, one of the things I think a lot of people miss about inflation is you can get a job to buy things at a higher price, whereas when you couldn't get a job, if they were selling shit for a penny, you couldn't afford it because you didn't have any opportunity to earn money. Now you can refinance, you can redo your budget, you can cut back on this and that. But as long as you can find a job, and most of the jobs are decent pay, you can deal with the inflation, which isn't to say that I want more inflation. It isn't to say that I think inflation is not a problem. But when you can find a job and you can work, you can pay your bills. And there have been times in this country, plenty that I can remember, when you couldn't find a friggin' job, so it didn't matter what anything cost because you didn't have any money.
Yeah. I think that makes a lot of sense, and there's some truth to that. I think there are a couple other reasons, because you're talking about...
I don't think people process that. I think they just see prices are high, everything's bad. Right?
Well, but to your point, Mark, why didn't the election go a slightly, or a different way? Because inflation usually does this. To me, there are two reasons along with what Mike just said. One is COVID and the pandemic, and normally inflation isn't coming out of something that's so unusual. And I think a lot of people understand it's not just here. There's inflation all over the world.
Nobody thinks that deeply, though.
That's not that deep, though, right? I mean, the news is full of struggle all over the world with inflation.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't watch the news.
The other thing is just candidate to candidate, right? Especially in the Senate. The Republicans ran a lot of candidates that were, I mean, I don't want to. We're not great candidates.
The response to that is going to be John Fetterman, right? I mean, those people
who was great before he had not great, but think about, he's a great example.
I'm just saying, you ask the other side, they're going to say there's a lot of not very desirable candidates.
But Fetterman, before the stroke, was a union guy running for a party that has been accused of being out of touch and out of elite with that. Yeah,
but Dr. Oz is on TV.
Right, but that isn't working as much anymore because everybody's on TV. So
certainly didn't work in the Detroit City Council race.
So I just think it was I just think it's a combination of people kind of understanding that inflation is not right.
TV ain't what it used to be.
It's beyond politicians in some way because it's a worldwide phenomenon, and people understand when we open back up out of COVID, it's gone crazy.
Well, and if young people voting
that way
were a big factor in this election, as we're led to believe based on the lines at Michigan State,
I don't think they are either, though.
But more young people probably voted than in the past, and they probably vote on the abortion issue. And based on what I've seen with young kids, they don't worry about prices because they're not paying most of those bills. So they just pass it along to mom or dad, and they're more socially oriented.
Well, but it's not that. I mean, that's an easy thing to say, but it's also they don't have some of the same bills. A lot of young people don't drive. So think about the cost of gas, car insurance, and a car payment, and car repairs right there. How much of that percentage of your budget? If you are riding a bus or walking or whatever, then or if you live in a city with a subway, I know that's not every place, but that's a difference too. The average age of what kids are getting their license at is going way, way up. Mm-hmm. They're just not the car culture's changed. They're not fascinated by cars like we were. They don't associate it with freedom like we did. It's just different.
Never driven an '85 Buick Riviera. That's the problem.
You know what I mean? And you can say, well, the parents are ferrying them around, and they are when they're teenagers. But I just don't think car culture is the same, and a lot of people don't have them, and that's a huge expense.
It is. The insurance alone will break your back in Detroit, and the price of gas. I mean, even if you're one of the young folks doing DoorDash, you got to notice that's coming right out of your bottom line, right? If you're an Uber driver or a Lyft driver or doing any of that bid economy stuff, you know, the amount of money you make delivering pizzas goes down precipitously when you're paying twice. I know
my youngest son DoorDashes a little bit, and he talks about that for sure.
Yeah, no, that hurts unless you're driving an electric car.
Well, what do you think then, Mark? I mean, I'm curious. Why do you think?
Why that didn't resonate?
It hasn't. Oh, no, of course. I think it resonated. The exit poll showed it was the number one issue that people were concerned about.
What, inflation?
Yeah. Why do you think it didn't matter?
I don't know. Maybe people feel that the government doesn't really control it as much as they think.
I guess that's kind of what I think. That's what I'm saying about.
But they do have control. It's such a. There's so many variables that go into inflation. The old adage was, hey, things aren't going well with my pocketbook. I want something different, which is a totally reasonable way to respond in an election. Like, I don't like the way things are going. I don't care.
And that has been traditional for sure.
But that's kind of why it surprised me. I really think it's because of the abortion issue.
I definitely think that's part of it for sure.
It's particularly with a lot of independents and stuff. I think it's just like, hey, wait, if this is something that's been settled for 50 years, inflation will be, that will come around, that'll come and go. But this one we want this to be permanent, at least in this state. Yeah. But I don't know.
I don't care if my abortion costs more. I still want to be able to have one.
Yeah,
that's the inflation issue. But I also do think that that inflation was a factor because Republicans are going to take control of the House,
sure. Mm-hmm.
And they did okay in some governor's races. Some of the Senate races they didn't do as well.
That's what was surprising, right? The state houses, Mike, and some of the governors, Democrats don't normally do as well in those races, and they did this time, and that's
here we had redrawing of the districts, so that helped.
Yeah, that made a big difference. Big difference.
And that's why they get in the House, because they redrew in Florida, which gave the Republicans, I think, 4 more representatives, and they gained 5 more in New York because of redrawing. So it's funny how in some states it worked for one party.
But in New York, it would have been Democrats who redrew the district lines. In Florida, it would have been Republicans.
But they couldn't, right? Because the judge,
I don't know.
The judge threw out. It was what's his name? Cuomo tried to. And then it was shot down, and so
whatever plan they would have thrown out would have replaced a plan that was written by Democrats,
right?
I think so. So I don't know, but
here it was a nonpartisan commission, right? I mean,
I'm glad we discussed this before the show.
Right? I mean,
well, I will say this:
I know how you can fight inflation. And I know who can help you. I know 2 gentlemen.
Well, I was going to go a different way with it. I was going to say, speaking of inflation, it was less than they expected last Thursday, which actually brought mortgage rates down.
Yes. Did it? No. Yeah, really? Mm-hmm. Even after the Fed said they're going to keep boosting them?
Well, I don't know where they are today, but I know on Friday they were down.
Awesome. If you're looking for a
rates
mortgage.
Last question. Jesus Christ. Do you guys like the commission in the state? Do you think all states should be that way? Independent commission that the people say, here's how we're going to draw up.
Yeah, but
the party's not going to get control.
No commission is ever really, truly independent. I think they should strive to be as independent as possible, of course.
A nonpartisan, unbiased group of people determining where the district lines should be drawn is ideal. And so the way that they're doing it in Michigan on paper seemed to be really, really good. But when you look at the final results from a Detroit-centric perspective, it was not good because my state senator is from St. Clair Shores. My state rep, I think, lives in Hamtramck. My congressman is a guy who just moved to Detroit a few years ago. It doesn't feel like there's real strong representation for Detroit, and there's a way they could have solved this, which a lot of people I think would have done, is build out from Detroit, where you say, okay, we're gonna create districts for Detroit, and then we're gonna divide the rest of the state up, which I think would have been a better solution.
It's never going to be perfect.
But it's never going to be perfect, and the one thing I think you do see with Democrats in control of the House and the Senate is generally Republican strength in legislatures has been overstated based on the number of representatives they have compared to the number of votes that the parties get.
That's true.
And so in Michigan now,
especially in the Senate,
we probably do have a legislature that's more representative of the split between Republicans and Democrats in the state of Michigan. But in Detroit, representation for Detroiters is more diluted than it has ever been. For example, that McMorrow from Ann Arbor or Royal Oak represents Detroit, whereas I think there's a lot of people in Detroit who wanted to see her primary opponent go to the Senate. So, I mean, you solve a problem and you create another problem.
For anybody that's not bored by this conversation, there's a really good book out there called Rat Fucked. And it was all about Operation Red Map and the redistricting and how they did it. It's just a fascinating book on the plan, which worked to a T.
It did.
To a T. that Republicans had in reshaping specifically state legislatures to redraw districts. It's fascinating.
Right.
There's a nice big old chapter about Michigan in there.
It's helped with the reps, and then the way we're set up with the Senate nationally also favors the Republicans.
But that's that's okay.
And the Electoral College, but that's a different conversation.
But the Senate is, that's not going to change, and that's fine. And I think it's stupid that Wyoming has 2 and California has 2, but that's the way it is, and that shouldn't change. And if people don't like it, move to Wyoming.
Well, the other
Californians are moving to Colorado and Arizona. Yeah.
Well, and people who were moving to cities are now moving out of cities because they can work remotely and they can have all the space they want and do all that other stuff. But I also should mention, because I wrote about it in the Free Press last week, that the Trump effect was a big factor too. Not necessarily because Republicans didn't vote Republican because of the allegiance between Trump and a lot of the candidates, but because donors didn't donate to candidates because they didn't like their ties to Donald Trump. So candidates like Matt DePerno, Christina Caramo, and Tudor Dixon at the top of the Republican ticket in Michigan had so little money to compete against Gretchen Whitmer, Jocelyn Benson, and Dana Nessel that, as you always hear in politics, you need to define your opponent before they can define themselves. By the time they finally raised a little money to get some commercials up, people already had a fairly negative impression of them.
Well, and their mind was already made
Abortion
up.
was a big part of that, too, with Tudor Dixon.
Well,
and Charlie.
Give Charlie credit, man. That question was used in a lot of campaign ads.
And then he complained that it was using some campaign ads. But it was, the way he framed it, it put it in very stark terms. And
what did he say?
You haven't seen the ads? They're all over the place.
I don't.
They were talking about abortion on
Charlie's
podcast, and it was which is the No Bullshit News Hour. There's a plug. But the question was,
who produces that?
This guy sitting right here talking. But what he said, he asked the question regarding
Mark.
Abortion about, what if a 14-year-old? He kind of combined the whole rape and was raped by their uncle. Is there an exception for that? And she said no exceptions. And that was used in campaign ads, and I think people were kind of shocked by that. I found it really interesting the way she shot back at the RNC when they put out that memo last week, blaming her because she's like, you guys didn't support me. So it's kind of a chicken of the egg. It's like, we're not going to put any money behind a candidate who really only had 2% coming, when they first started. We're not going to put money behind that. But at the same time, she's like, I need money so people know who I am. So they kind of shot themselves in their foot.
The Michigan GOP or the RNC?
I'm sorry, the Michigan GOP. MIGP, yeah.
Well, because Carl Marlinga, who lost to John James in Macomb County, there were people saying if the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee had put money behind him, he would have beat John James. They ended up losing by a fraction of a percentage point, which nobody saw coming.
No, and that's why they make those decisions. So if they give him money, then it's going to come from somewhere else. So they have to make those decisions.
They put a lot of money into wiping out Peter Meyer so they could get John Gibbs in Western Michigan, which worked out for him because he got squished.
Can we also say that you're talking about the Trump effect in the Senate, in the U.S. Senate? His backed candidates, right? You're saying it didn't help with the donors and the fundraising and so forth, but it's also the independent voters. And we say independent, you're just talking about people that will vote for both parties depending on who the people are.
Sure, 100%.
So to me, that's the real Trump effect, is that he was backing folks that were a little bit out there, and so people in the middle who are willing to vote both Democrat and Republican went Democrat this time in the Senate races.
Yeah, that's true to some extent, but when you can't get money to push your cause, and some people are mad at Trump because they say that he anointed these candidates, which made it hard for them to raise money, but then he raised a ton of money and didn't give any money to them. So, and Trump's it's Tuesday. Trump is expected to announce today that he's going to run for a second term as president. And
do you think is he going to come out with a flamethrower? You think he's just going to start ripping
scorched earth?
What else is in his
Look what he did to it.
There's an acetylene torch or a flamethrower. Those are the two tools he brings to every job.
You're talking about a Schwarzenegger style flamethrower. What did he? Or look what he did with DeSantis.
sanctimonious?
Yeah, and not only did he come up with that, but that night or the next day, he released a long letter talking about how he was responsible for DeSantis' rise, and he's nobody without me, and he's nothing. You guys saw that, right? It was unbelievable.
But I think he's right. People forget DeSantis, when he first was elected governor, it was by a squeaker. And if
over Gillum?
The mayor of Tallahassee, who self-destructed as soon as that race was over. But I mean, he was one of the people who rode that Republican wave that Trump started, and now he's got his own ambition. So now Trump wants to remind people of, who they owe. They owe Big Daddy.
Isn't that something? Just the way he went after him. There's just nobody else in politics like that.
And that's why a lot of people like him.
It's true. No, it's true.
Because he's different. That's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. To each their own.
Yeah.
So, if you're not going to get a lot of contributions from Donald Trump and you need to pay your own bills,
that's right. I forgot we started.
I thought you were going to say, who else is different? Well, in a very good way.
I don't know if they're different politically or that, but I do know that.
I was talking about interest rates before.
I do know that one of these gentlemen is a very successful businessman.
So why don't we start with that?
David Hall.
That's Hall Financial. Even because rates are up and they're not at their historical lows, it's a good thing. Because competition's down, you're going to be able to buy the home you're looking for. If you're a first-time home buyer, over 25% of increase in housing inventory over last year right now. So call Hall Financial, get a 5-star certified pre-approval so you're ready when you're going to go find your dream home or your first home or any home. Hall Financial has over 5,000 5-star reviews. They'll be with you every step of the way. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home or refinance your current home, you need to call Hall Financial first, 866-CALL Hall, or get started by going to mlsolodetroit.com and clicking on the little link there. And if you're looking to have your money make money and you're facing a big financial decision coming up, like purchasing that home or my car. I have a big financial decision coming up. I forgot about that. But what, Luke,
you're getting rid of
my car lease is up. I got to buy it.
You're going to go buy a Riviera?
Maybe. I kind of want to get rid of a car. But
how about a Cutlass Supreme?
I had one of those too. Beautiful.
It's important to know, if you're like me, how this decision is going to mess with your current and future financial goals. And if you're wondering that, we got the guy for you. It's Luke Nowacki and his team at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, because they can help you plan for financial goals both today and well into the future. Call Luke 248-663-4748. He'll give you a complimentary consultation to see where your plans are and how they align with your goals.
And when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and/or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
Okay, now that we've paid some bills, let's get back on track, because I'd like to sort of get us going on a feature that may be an occasional staple of the show, which is Ask the Soul of Detroit, where you can turn to our collective wisdom, such as it is, to get answers to really portentous questions. And I want to start with a article that was in the Free Press on Sunday, written by Teresa Baldus, who is a friend of the show. She's a big fan of Mark Fellhauer's and Shawn Windsor's.
He hates to say that. I don't blame you. I'm not a fan of myself either.
And tolerates the rest of the show. She's like Aaron. She's still not sure. But
Aaron?
That's him. But she wrote a piece about a custody battle over a frozen embryo. And we've seen these before, but what's amazing about this one to me is that you have a couple who are divorced. They fertilized some eggs for various reasons. What they did was they took the wife's sister's egg, because it would be as close to her genetically as possible, fertilized it with the husband's sperm, implanted some of those eggs in the wife. She had beautiful, healthy children. They kept an egg frozen, I guess for future reference. Then they got divorced. So that's the end of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no.
You'd think.
Yeah. She wants to have the egg implanted in her so that she can have another child. And he says, we're not a couple anymore. That was going to be our child. I don't want any more children. And so yeah, I got it.
Well, I don't want any more children with you.
Right. We're not married, and I don't want to complicate things for our kids. What do you guys make of that? I mean, it's being treated like a property case, which is kind of, I guess, okay. But,
well, I mean, that's what the judge ruled, right? Is it not a property case? I mean, what other kind of case is it? It's not is it a custody case? Is that kind of the flip side to that, the other side of the coin?
Well, you could say, and there are some religious, devout religious people who would say, you created a life, and now to do anything other than bring that life to its full potential, you have committed a crime against God, probably not against the law now because of, such as it is. But
I feel, reading the article, I feel bad for the lady. I feel bad for her sister because it's a sister's egg. And I honestly feel bad for him, but I mean, if that's the life, then it's being held captive right now. Let it go, right? I mean, that embryo won't exist without implanting it in somebody. So I think property case is kind of the way it should go. And he seems, in this article, and I don't know him, but it seems based on this article and his arguments in courts that he's a pretty good guy. He's like, I pay for my 5 kids and my 4 kids now. I just don't want another one with this person. I should have a say. This is my sperm. I just seems obvious that that's the way it should go. You don't have to destroy it. He even mentioned we don't have to destroy it because he's Catholic too. But donate it to science or something.
Yeah, although I'm not sure how the church would view. So you're
going
to donate to science. Yeah. What are we going to do with it? We're going to zap it. We're going to slice it, dice it. Put it through some tests. But
it's really tricky.
But it's one of those things where it feels to me like if I was responsible in any regard for bringing a life into the world, I don't know how I could walk away from it. And there's some irony here because
that's what he said too.
Because I have a dad who's brought some life into the world who seems to have had no problem whatsoever with walking away from all of it. So maybe I'm just trying to break the chain. I don't know. But we see this all the time where people put a kid up for adoption and then the kid comes back and says, "Hey, Daddy," when we had JT Harding on the show, who the musician who ended up finding out he was related to John Thomas, Jay Thomas. Yeah, I mean, Jay Thomas was at first like, "What the hell is this? Who the hell are you?" And then they ended up having a very close relationship to the point where JT's adoptive father. Jay Thomas eulogized JT's adoptive father. So the notion that you can contribute some DNA and then never ever be associated with it.
Not so easy.
I don't.
Yeah.
And
that's kind of his argument.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm not a lawyer and I don't know what the right call is on this, but I guess as a father and as someone who loves children and people in my family, I don't know how you could possibly view something that has a connection to you as disconnected from you, not a part of you, something you had no obligation to whatsoever. And we should let people know too, that the mother says, "Hey, if we have this, we'll never call you. We'll never ask you for a cent."
But that's not what he wants.
You don't have to do anything. We'll take care of it. We just created this and we want to see it through. That was the plan. I want to stick to the plan. I mean, and I can see where she's coming from too. This is, and as you said, Mark, the sister, if you feel like you must be connected to it, this sister, women, guys, we kind of we just keep creating sperm.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah. We'll leave it there.
We know how it works.
Yeah. But women, they have a finite number of eggs. It's not like, I'll just go to the store and get another dozen, extra large.
Well, that's the one thing I'd love to know. And maybe Teresa can find this out is when it's the sister's egg, when it's implanted or even before it's implanted, but when it's fertilized, does she give up the rights? Does she sign away her rights with the fertility clinic and say, I mean, I don't know how that works.
I don't either. And
because the judge ruled it's definitely not the mom, the ex-wife. It's not hers because it's not her egg.
Right. And I don't want to get myself in any more trouble than I may already be getting myself in, but the last person I want to have a kid with is my sister-in-law, okay? You think it's tough to walk away from a kid, that you have a part of. How about, I'm not really so keen on your sister. I didn't marry you, and now we got a kid together?
I would think you would
My sister-in-law is a fine person, I should say that, but...
you don't want to have a kid with her, that's fine.
Yeah.
I will say this, though. I would think the rights must be signed away, or maybe it is when it's implanted, because I know somebody who had the wrong embryo implanted inside her, and they said, look, if you carry this to term, it's not your kid.
What happened to that child? Did it get reconnected with the?
She carried it full term.
Biological parents.
They are on good. Yeah. Oh yeah. No, raised by the biological parents. I believe there is a friend. I'm not positive, but I believe there's a friendly relationship between the two families. But the female who was,
should hope so. I mean, I really appreciate neighbors who look after my dogs for a weekend, let alone somebody who bore my child.
There's some distance between the two.
I mean, talk about doing somebody a solid.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're very shit, and this is where where faith and all that comes in, because there's a lot of Catholics that don't like IVF, but they are very Catholic and they wanted another kid. So here you have it implanted, and they're like, well, we're not going to abort it. I know it's not ours. I'll carry it full term, even though it will greatly affect my health. So, and I think that is just an amazing thing that they did that, knowing that they wouldn't be able to keep it. The point is I would assume, and I don't know when it happens, whether it's implantation or what, that sister would have, no say over it.
So what happened to their embryo, the one that should have been implanted in them?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Did they?
I don't know. I don't know if that was implanted in the other person and didn't take. I'm not sure.
Okay. Wow.
I could do some research and find out for you.
So I don't know that we've actually solved this problem, but Shawn's been quiet, so I'm assuming Shawn may have had a child with his sister-in-law, and he's staying out. He's abstaining because he has a conflict of interest.
No, I was just thinking about how it's like,
he's like Johnny Appleseed. Every town he goes to cover sporting events, there's little Windsors.
You don't know what.
He's like the Charles Corral to podcast.
You don't want to know what I was thinking about. You don't want to know what I was thinking about. I was thinking about an episode.
He was thinking about the McRib, which is coming up soon. But
well, first of all, I was wondering why you're in a Chargers t-shirt. But no, what I was thinking about was an episode of Bewitched where they get the babies mixed up at in the nursery, right? Because that's been a trope in movies for a long time. But here's switching the embryos. It used to be switch the babies.
So Tabitha,
you remember the Lily Tomlin Bette Midler movie where they were twins and they switched them and one went to the country, and it's a bad 80s movie.
I go all the way back to Bugs Bunny with Yob.
It's a big business.
Remember the giant baby? Remember when the family had the giant baby Yob?
Yeah.
Yob! And the dad's trying to
So that's actually what I was thinking about, was just, here we are to the point where we switch embryos, when it used to be, we switch the babies.
I think it's the dad's. I think he has full right over it.
But he doesn't want
it. That's fine. You can have things that you don't want.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where if I get a pizza, and I know it's not a life, but if I get a pizza and I can't finish it, I would rather give it to some guy in the corner than throw it away, because it seems like a waste of pizza.
Yeah, but you don't have to. He doesn't want another child with his DNA with the X.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll try and keep you posted on how this one turns out, but I didn't think we were going to solve this problem, but it's kind of a fascinating case. And if you want to read more about, there's a lot more at freep.com. Check it out. And of course, we always appreciate if you subscribe, because that supports the work that Shawn and I do when we're not here in the basement. And if you want to support this show, you can certainly make a donation or encourage somebody to sponsor us. But an easy way to support this show and to kind of make sure you never miss when we go live is to subscribe to YouTube channel ML Elrick. Subscribe there. You can also get alerts that always let you know when we're going to go live. And if you want to watch the show, you can watch the replay, and you can always comment and let us know what's going on there. And we love to hear from you on there. So we have a couple other problems out there that we may be a little more helpful with. Shawn, would you?
I thought Mark might want to go next.
Oh, okay, Mark's next.
Okay. Why, are you still dreaming about Bewitched?
No, I'm dreaming about your McRib.
That
you
Elizabeth
mentioned the McRib, and that was it.
By the way, why can't I wear a Charger shirt?
No, I
did. With my Chargers?
Were you a fan as a young boy because the Lions were not good?
Dan Fouts? No,
I think
I don't not like them.
Who was Jefferson was one of the receivers, right? And
Shawn,
the tight end.
Oh, the tight end. Oh my God,
who was a Hall of Fame guy? Yeah.
I wanted to say Todd Christensen, but
what's his name? Anyway, all right.
Holy cow! No, I can't.
I think
Kellen Winslow.
Yes.
The reason why Mark is wearing that is because, like this embryo that was transplanted from the petri dish to the mother, the Chargers were transplanted from San Diego to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Marc is working
Terrible
on a
decision.
whole different level here. This is his wardrobe is so synced up with the show that it's frightening to realize that with that coordination, we're still like way behind.
All right, what issue are we going to solve next here?
All right, I'll start since you're bored. So it's an email. My husband and I like saying that. My husband and I have lived in our neighborhood for about 10 years.
Very progressive.
We're friendly and neighborly. One house has always been a trouble, in quotes, house. Loud arguments are heard. SWAT team showed up to arrest an adult son. They write, yikes, which is kind of adorable. Neighbors accuse the kids of stealing tools from their shed, and recently police were there again with reports of gunshots fired. Last summer, we hosted a backyard party and set up a bar in our basement. The mother of that house came by uninvited. Not wanting to be rude, we welcomed her. She then brought in her son and his girlfriend, who ensconced themselves at our bar. They seemed friendly enough, but when the guests were leaving, they asked to stay, and I said, "Last call!" They wanted to stay longer. They offered to clean up, tour the house, use the bathroom. They live a block away. I finally got them to leave by sending them with to-go drinks. They've already asked me once in passing if we'll host again. They can see our yard from their place. I don't have a good feeling about them in our home. Should I host and when they show up, say private party? I don't want to be friends, but we are neighbors. Help!
One word. Sell.
Oh, damn.
Jeez,
wow. You sound like the Michigan State offense. Every solution is a punt.
You're going to move just because one person, one family?
No, I'm kidding. That's a tough one. Build a higher fence so they can't see the parties.
Well, I mean,
they'll hear the music.
Here's the thing.
Keep the music inside. You don't need music. You just need good food and people you love.
All that stuff aside is what's going on at their house. They were fine at that party. They offered to clean up.
Yeah, that's the thing. They did offer to clean up.
They did stay a little longer.
Yeah, but at 5 a.m.
You think they'd run the vacuum?
I mean, I don't know. I based on how it was written, it sounds like they were okay party guests. Maybe not the best neighbors, but okay party guests.
Well, the thing that's, Mike, right, is that she said, I don't have a good feeling. If you don't have a good feeling, then no matter how much they clean up or behave or whatever, you can't get past that feeling in your gut, right?
Yeah, but the feeling's based on how they are as neighbors, not how they were at the party.
Yeah, but if you got some dirtbag neighbors and then they start partying with you, it almost feels like you're rewarding bad behavior. It's like, you guys are the blight on the neighborhood, but why don't you come over and have some canapes and a couple of martinis with us?
Or maybe it's the opposite.
Well, you're not inviting them, right? I think.
Well, that's the problem. You're actually not saying, why don't you come over? They're just at the damn door.
Maybe it's the opposite, though. You show them a little kindness and some graciousness, and then they feel responsible a little bit to tidy up their end, so to speak.
I mean, maybe they won't show up. Maybe they won't be there anyway. I mean, don't let it stop you from having a party. But if they have the party and it's outside and they show up, maybe keep the bar outside so then they're not inside.
Well, one of the keys is, and I'm curious to hear how you guys deal with this, is we throw a lot of parties and there's always somebody at the end who prolongs the end. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, I'm not gracious or very good at trying to hold the door open for people. Do you guys have a strategy or like an exit line when somebody's there? Like,
I'm going to bed.
Got a early start tomorrow.
Go upstairs.
I'm going to bed is probably the best way to do it.
I mean, that's the biggest hint, right? You're like, okay, I'm going to bed. See ya.
And then they don't.
Aren't you a little old though for parties where people are doing that?
I would have thought so, but
yes, he is.
But we have a lot of people.
I mean, I can't remember the last time I had a gathering of people actually weren't trying to get home before sunset.
Oh no, we yeah, no.
I'm glad he's that way though.
I start cleaning up and people still don't get the hint. And they're like, oh, I'm not finished with that. I'm like, wait a minute. You are finished with that. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
He just wants to have a Smith cover band there. And everything else is secondary.
I wish I could be like that.
When the band packs up, that's usually a good sign for everybody else.
That's it, yeah.
No, that's when they transition to the beer pong table or the whatever. But so for Thanksgiving, we always have a big gathering. And my standard joke is thanks for coming, thanks for going. And I actually had a hot pad made where it says, the Elricks, and on the top it says, on the top half, thanks for coming. On the bottom half it says, thanks for going. We put that out on the table, and I kind of feel like when that last pan has been lifted and you can see the message on the hot pad, it's probably time to start looking for your coat.
Well, what's interesting about that is that...
Yeah, but you can't change their behavior. So you
not only that, you can't change the perception of you, so you've never been subtle in your life. So to try to get people to leave with a very subtle thing like that probably is
I would
confusing.
just go upstairs to bed and
you know what I mean?
Use my phone and turn off all the lights that are connected to my phone and turn off the TV.
Just be Mike Elrick.
Turn everything off.
And just stay what you think. I'm sorry, I'm going to bed. It's been lovely. I'm glad you came, but I'm tired.
Get
I'm going
the
to bed.
fuck out of my house.
You don't even have to do that. Teresa can do that, but you can,
The problem with being me is I do a lot of charity gigs where people offer to give you things. I'm like, no, I don't need anything. I'm just here to help. That's why it's charity, right? You do it. It's a charity. You're giving something.
That's true.
And someone inevitably will give me a much nicer bottle of whiskey than I would ever buy for myself. And since I never seem to feel like there's a good enough occasion to open, so I have quite a fine assortment of high-end whiskey. That if I went to bed and left these nitwits at the party, the next morning I would not have a large assortment of very high-end whiskey.
I think you should take it to Ford Field and help with the exorcism.
Who would do that? I mean, who would just then help themselves when the host is gone?
We had a party where these nitwits were serving drinks to some battle axes who were at the party. I was like, first of all, what are you young guys serving drinks to these rat bags? And second of all, there's a whole keg out there. Why are you busting into my liquor reserve?
Were they invited back?
They may have appeared at another time like these neighbors down the street, but there was nothing engraved sent to them letting them know exactly when and where the next
I think getting back to this question, just
yes, please.
Don't invite them.
Once again, Shawn brings some discipline to the show.
Don't invite.
Thank you. Thanks for reining us in.
Don't invite them.
Okay.
But if they show up, just feed them, let them have a drink, just showing some kindness. Because what you don't want is some kind of larger war.
Yeah, with a neighbor.
With a neighbor, you just don't. Especially if you're worried about.
That's true.
Yeah.
So be kind if they come. Let them hang, but don't go out of your way to invite them.
And if that doesn't work, then next party, then you put up your private.
Because hey, for all you know, the next time you throw a party, they could be on the other side of town or whatever, right?
Well, yeah, and if they're that bad, they're not going to adhere to a private party sign. Like the emailer said.
Yeah,
I think that's where you set up that feud. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about, and no one's come up with this, but what about, and I'm not suggesting that this is appropriate. It's something to consider. No.
Invisible fence.
Call the police.
A gas leak or something, creating some sort of thing in their home.
So blow your own house up?
No, theirs. Theirs.
What the F are
Too
you
much?
talking about?
Too strong? Okay.
Right, read yours.
All right. Yeah, Shawn, sorry. We got into
Oh, wait, I have one too?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, the piece of paper.
Come on, you've been doing such a good job keeping us on track.
Oh, no. All right, this is, we're not mentioning who
station
this is from.
master.
This is anonymous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it should be.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make mine anonymous, even if it's not.
Just
Oh, my
do
God.
it.
Mark has got his hand in his face because he can't speak, though. He's got chocolates in his mouth.
I can speak.
Okay, oh, there you go. All right, we haven't mentioned your calves, by the way, today.
Oh, my God. Focus, my man.
Jeez.
And it's never we anyway.
Thank God he hasn't found the auto suck machine.
I know, I hit it on him.
I like
it's very close to your calves.
Our son, God, listen to that voice cracking. Sorry. Our son and his fiance.
This is very personal for
I know.
For Shawn.
Our son and his fiance, both 24, are getting married next summer. The bride's mother has commandeered the planning. When the kids express an opinion, she gets huffy and overrules them. Early on, she asked my son, "Are your parents splitting the cost of the wedding with us?" Flustered, he said yes. Oops. But no one told us. Now the mother of the bride is planning an extravagant affair and sent us a spreadsheet with, quote, our share of the costs. We can't afford it. I think she is way off base. My wife wants us to take out a loan. Your thoughts?
All of a sudden, those neighbors down the street don't sound so bad. That's my immediate thought. But
I mean, this is going to be easy to say because it's not me. I would say, well, just tell them the truth. Be like, we can't afford this much.
Yeah, that's my first thought. You just have to be honest with your...
You don't want to say that, do you? I mean...
What, to your son?
Well, to his in-laws, too.
Yeah, you have to do it. Well, or you could let the son do it.
Or just say,
no, he's already failed.
You say, hey, wait, traditionally we pay
massive
for the booze.
Disappointment this shitbag is.
If it's a traditional wedding, you say, no, the son's family pays for all the alcohol.
Well, and what about the daughter too, who's letting the mom kind of commandeer, so to speak? I guess is this guy's word, but it's tricky.
How do they know that
the kids have to stand up to this a little bit? To me, and have a wedding within their means.
If this family's they should be kind of pissed at their son for not that he said that, but for not letting them know earlier so they could nip it in the bud.
You're just gonna have to be honest. You're gonna have to call the future in-laws and say, "Look, we can't afford this.
Yeah.
Here's what we can afford. Here's what we're happy to help with." And if it causes long-term relationship, then fuck those people. They're not worth it.
I find it hard to believe that the future mother-in-law, the one that's doing all the planning, I find it hard to believe.
It may make Christmas a little tricky.
That the bride didn't do some of the planning.
Oh, I'm kidding. That's terrible advice. No, what's that, Mark?
I find it hard to believe that the bride didn't do some of this planning too. That.
Oh, what if?
The cost.
Yeah, but what if this is the problem? Is that this is the ultimate princess who has been raised by the royal family, and money and the word no has never entered into any conversations, and now your son's going to be tethered to this bottomless pit for the rest of eternity?
Well, how do we know that? If they had that kind of money, they wouldn't be asking for the other family to pay half of it.
Or
right?
if they have that kind of money, then you'd be more comfortable going to them saying, "We don't have this kind of money. Can we find a different arrangement?"
I don't know. Trump was a billionaire, right? And he cheated on his taxes. Some people just don't want to pay the full freight.
Well, yeah, sure.
I mean, to me, I think you have to have a lot of confidence to tell somebody, you know what? We just don't have that kind of dough. I mean, that's got to be
a tough thing to do.
A little embarrassing.
No, that is a tough thing to do.
But if you don't nip this in the bud right now, and you go deep into the hole to pay for this, and you're like, oh my God, we're going to have to work another 2 years to pay. And then they say, hey, we planned a family vacation to Vail. We got a chalet. We're all going to be there for a week. Here's your share. You're like, I did not, first of all, I did not marry this other family. My kid married their kid. And so I should not be tethered to their unrealistic expectations or their extreme lifestyle. But the kid, the son needs to be spoken to in very harsh terms.
Well, I don't know about harsh because this is a wedding. You know,
I would not rule out a minor beating.
Here's my serious, sincere advice: be honest with the son, and if you have to, with the future in-laws, that you can't afford all of that's on the spreadsheet. But here's what you can pay, and then for your own relationship with your wife, kind sir, take out a smaller loan of what you think you can pay off. That way, you keep that relationship happy, which is the most important one at this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
You got to keep that one happy, and then you're showing some grace to your son, and, you're offering something to the other family. So there's got to be a figure somewhere in there that you're comfortable with borrowing that will make your wife happy and your son and the future in-laws.
Well, I don't want to be the extreme solutions guy to all these problems, but how about breaking them up? Has anybody thought about that? It's like, she's a whore. Run. There's the $0 option, right? You don't have to contribute nothing. You don't even have to go rent a tuxedo. I don't know. Maybe I went too far.
Not a bad way to do it either.
Something to think about.
Mark's not paying attention.
No, I'm totally paying attention.
He's looking up more Chargers paraphernalia on the laptop.
I would just say if I hadn't already come up with someone, I would say that kid, the son, would be the geek of the week.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
Now, usually on information like this, on big news like this, I like to turn to an insider, one of my many contacts in the journalism, business, political world, the Opus Dei of information.
You know everybody.
So I do, and I do know someone who's very connected at Hamburger University, Mr. Fellhauer. I would normally turn to him. Look, you thought that was a great catch against the Vikings. That was fantastic. But I would turn to Mr. Fellhauer to find out what's really going on here. And I may yet do that, but for now, I'm just going to go what's in the public domain.
I have no idea where you're going with this.
From McDonald's, because Mr. Fellhauer, your dad, not Mark Fell, I mean Mr. Fellhauer, the original Fell, the fella of Howard, they call him. He was connected with the McDonald's Corporation, was he not?
He's an owner-operator.
Franchisee, they turned to him. He's the one who told them it'd be great if we had a clown as our mascot. I mean, he was a major domo when it came to fast food. He was Columbus's Ray Kroc.
No. Well, wait, that would be Dave Thomas, but okay.
No, but I mean, you're from Columbus, and
I know.
He was as influential with the McDonald's chain as Ray Kroc.
I know, but I just wanted some appreciation for the Wendy's reference as being founded in Columbus.
Oh, yeah. No, speaking of embryos, Dave Thomas.
Shawn is so confused. I'm confused, too. I don't know. Is my dad the geek of the week? What
No. I'm just saying that I want to get to the bottom of this, and normally I turn to an insider. I should have turned to Mr. Fellhauer, but I did not. So I'm just going off the public domain. And based on the public domain, I have some real concerns here. And I think this is an issue that you guys will be especially interested in. McDonald's is saying their McRib sandwich is set to return this fall. So that's good news.
It's already back, yeah.
Yep. It's been there since Devil's Night. I think there's probably a reason for that because of what it'll do to your intestines. But the bad news is...
Why are you knocking the McRib, man? Everyone loves the McRib.
It was a gratuitous shot to McRib. And I must say that never before have pencil erasers been repurposed in such a delicious way. But yes, the McRib is back. The bad news is McDonald's says it will not be back again. Get one while you can, because this is the McRib farewell tour, McDonald's wrote on their website. And I know how much you guys love the McRib, and so I thought that for toying with your emotions, for teasing you, for threatening the demise of the McRib, that this week's Geek of the Week should be McDonald's.
First off, this isn't the first time they've done this, so just want to say that.
Well, that's why I should have... See, there's the Fellhauer connection into the corporate boardroom.
It's a marketing gimmick.
Yeah, this is...
Just like Kiss is never... When they do their farewell tour, it's never the last one.
Right. So, I'm feeling like they should be the Geek of the Week by depriving you two gentlemen of something that you love as much as life itself. But perhaps the truth is that they are our Geek of the Week because this is yet another diabolical attempt to toy with the emotions of the McRib fans out there. Now, I expected to get more of a reaction, but you guys both seem to be pretty okay with it.
I don't like making McDonald's the Geek of the Week for that reason, but whatever.
What about Wendy's?
I like the McRib.
For killing Dave Thomas and then resurrecting him.
I like the McRib, and I like the what do you call it? The Frosty at Wendy's.
What? Great contribution.
It is tasty.
I'm turning into the Herschel Walker of this podcast. Sorry. Non sequiturs.
I think all of Herschel's embryos got unfrozen.
Yeah. Is there a secret baby? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, you just ask him, how the weather is, and he says, I like chocolate ice cream.
Did you see the Herschel Walker clip the other day where, people talk about how he is like the king of non sequiturs and how he says things that don't make sense? But I thought he was making a joke about the Colts coach, the playoffs thing.
Jeff Saturday?
No. The playoffs. We're talking about playoffs.
Jim Mora.
Jim Mora, yeah.
Did you see the clip from Herschel Walker where he's talking about runoff? You're talking about a runoff?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Now, he's so goofy that maybe that's just what he was thinking, but did anybody see that and think he was making a joke about Jim Mora?
No.
Like he was trying to be culturally relevant and just...
No. He never played for Mora, did he?
You agree with him?
For him.
What did he say?
No.
He didn't believe in a runoff?
No, he's just
I think he's exhausted by another runoff.
You're talking about a runoff? We have a runoff?
Who isn't exhausted by another runoff?
Well, here's the crazy thing about this, which has nothing to do with new wave music, but one of these guys was half a point away from getting 50%. So in Georgia, it's if you get 50%, there's no run. That's just decided. Mm-hmm. In the primary and the general, they're half a point away from one of the candidates getting to 50%. And because somebody couldn't get a few thousand votes here, there, hundreds of millions of dollars are going to be spent over the next month to decide a race that's already probably consumed hundreds of millions of dollars. Isn't that insane?
Yes.
I mean, the only people who are really happy about that, the local TV
media.
Stations. Yeah, they're gonna be making bank off of that. God, I swear, I thought for once Herschel really was in my mind when he's saying runoff. I just heard playoffs.
Yeah.
But, what's the song, by the way?
Oh, it's thank you, Shawn. I'm glad you bring us once again back into form. We're doing covers this month, and Craig got us on this. It's a great theme by suggesting Simple Minds covering The Call, When the Walls Came Down.
Well, they blew the horns, and the walls came down. They don't mean war, still the walls came down. They stood there laughing, they're not laughing anymore, as the walls came down. When century fades, you see the nation split. All those nighttime rays, the congregation fled. There's a song of assassin, it's ringing in your ears. We got dumb heads thinking, ain't no fear.
So this is one of two Simple Minds songs I really like because it's not by Simple Minds. I just never.
Why do you hate Simple Minds so much?
Never have been a huge Simple Minds fan.
You didn't like the 80s anthem that they wrote?
I did. That was my high school graduation theme song, Don't You Forget About Me, not written by Simple Minds. And Jim Kerr, the front man for Simple Minds, never liked it. They did it. It was like a gig. And they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. But it's easily their best song.
Who wrote it?
I don't know.
All right, I'll look it up.
I don't know. But Simple Minds, Jim Kerr, it's just never done it for me. He just always seemed to be so full of himself. And even the way he does this song, I can see him staring at himself in a mirror as he's singing.
Oh, okay.
It was written and composed by the producer Keith Forsey and Steve Schiff, a guitarist and songwriter from the Nina Hagen Band. Forsey and Schiff wrote it for Simple Minds.
Okay. Well, maybe we should have the Nina Hagen Band here in room 7609. Speaking of obscure acts that haven't gotten their due.
She's a German singer.
But this was originally done by The Call, and the lyrics are great. It's very like a lot of new wave music, very political. It talks a lot about, I don't think there are any Russians. There ain't no Yanks, just corporate criminals playing with tanks. Kind of gets at at the materialism and the power of the big money players, the folks who make things happen. But a great tune. Sanctuary fades, congregation splits, nightly military raids, the congregation splits. It's a song of assassins ringing in your ears. We got terrorists thinking, playing on fears. I mean, man, it's really a great tune, and the call does it so wonderfully. But it's such a good song. Even Simple Minds can't mess it up for me.
Hey, 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 hey.
Yeah, another great lyric.
I don't know. I didn't know how to exclamate what you just said.
That's nice. Yeah. That was a good lecture. Nice lecture.
Nice lecture.
So
getting back to the podcast, though.
So we'd love to get your
I like
suggestions.
that song. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it's a good tune. It's a great tune. And the Simple Minds does a nice job.
Fake.
We would love to get your suggestions for great new wave cover tunes. And we love your feedback, which reminds me, we love your ratings as well. And we got a 5-star rating from Shawn that I'm also going to count as feedback. And it's very apropos because Shawn gave us 5 stars and wrote, "I love when Shawn hates the songs."
If only that was a shtick.
Sorry I didn't hate this one there, brother.
So you teed Shawn up, man. You guys,
kind of a fun song.
The Shawn and Shawn podcast. You guys could own the whole bandwidth with that, man. You should take that.
Don't need more Shawns. I mean, maybe he's a nice guy. Good Shawn.
So we love to hear back from you. Please never hesitate to send us an email at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Of course, we love it if you subscribe to our YouTube channel, ML Elrick. And your feedback is one of my favorite parts of the show because we just, love to hear what you think of the show. So if you like our Ask the Soul potential feature, you got a taste of it today. We won't go on as long in the future. But if you like that, let us know, and we'll try and give you more. If you hate it,
let Shawn know.
We'll probably still give you more of it. Yeah. And if you are Shawn sending us an email, please try and use a ghost account so it's not so obvious that you're expressing yourself through third parties. Our feedback starts with an email from Kyle. Last week we were talking a little bit about Rutgers and Tony Soprano coming out in Adidas. Kyle says Tony Soprano wore Fila jumpsuits.
Cool. That's better.
Not Adidas. Yeah. You need to fire Shawn Windsor.
That's awesome.
For this egregious era. Yeah. And I think that's right, because I think Fila is an Italian sporting goods manufacturer, right? Adidas is German.
It is German. But
Tony
Marc
Soprano
would be
had
Adidas on,
Fila.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
he may have, but I always kind of like Kappa with the two people back to back.
Yeah.
It reminds me of the logo from Inner Majesty's Secret Service.
I always liked Saucony or Saucony.
Saucony?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. Brooks. Yeah.
When my last year of baseball, I wore spot-built cleats with the metal spikes on them. I used to love the sound of those cleats on the floor of the ice cream store.
I went to replace my old man shoes recently, New Balance shoes, and I bought a pair of Finnish shoes. They were new line, and just in the market. So I don't know.
You're gonna plug it?
No, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce the name. I don't even forgot them.
Okay,
I forgot the name.
Why did you buy them?
Hoka?
They're on my feet though.
Are they Hoka?
Oh, it's got an M on the side, so it's
New
New Balance.
And they're a little too stylish for me, but
there it is. Wait, hang on. K-A-R-H-U.
Karu. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
They're incredibly comfortable.
Wow, that's an unsponsored plug. I don't know if we want to make a habit of that.
No, but we do well over in Scandinavia.
Actually, we have been doing very well in Japan, but we've been falling in the rankings over the last 3 weeks in Japan. So hopefully, domo arigato for your support, and we hope that you like this show as well.
I just wanted to help us over in that market. Actually, Finland is not part of Scandinavia, right? It's just Norway and Sweden.
I think it is.
No, one of those countries is they don't consider Scandinavian over there. Anyway, we don't. That's fine. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole.
I kind of want to now.
All this and more next week on ML.
No, I think Denmark's part of it, right? But I don't think one of those three countries. It's not Sweden. I'm fairly sure it's not Norway. I thought it was Finland, but maybe I'm wrong.
Just want to refer you back to your previous comment that we don't have to go down that rabbit hole.
It commonly refers to Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. It can sometimes refer to the Scandinavian peninsula, which includes Denmark, but also part of Finland.
Okay, so there's some truth to that.
Boy, was that a waste of time.
Sorry that I was right. I'm not normally.
Wow. You know, when I worked at the youth hostel in Ireland, we had
It doesn't work for the show.
2 Finnish women checked in, and one of them was incredibly striking. She had very pale skin, these sort of ice blue eyes, and this really kind of cool reddish auburn hair. She was absolutely gorgeous, and I tried to be a little funny, and both of them looked at me like, "Are you through?" I mean, it was like they were ice queens. It was unbelievable. I don't want to suggest that Finnish people are like that, but
why? Because they didn't think you were mutually hot?
No, they were just so cool. I mean, everything about them. You're kind of from an Arctic country, so I expect you to be kind of cool, but they really were really cool. And I just remember thinking,
isn't Finland's president really hot too? Kind of like your description? No,
I'm not sure. They don't. They don't.
She
want
the one
small,
who got in trouble for dancing?
They
Was
don't
that
want
the
the
New
small
Zealand
talk.
prime minister?
Well, maybe that's
No, that was. I don't know if it's the Finnish or
Somebody
it
got
was
in trouble
there
for going to a disco.
Yep.
But no, they seemed so exotic. I guess that's what it was.
Do they? I don't find them very exotic.
These women were. I think of Finland as like I can imagine running into somebody from Sweden. I don't think about bumping into somebody from Norway so much unless you're in Minnesota. But Finland, it just feels to me like if you're from Finland, you stay in Finland and you wrestle polar bears, and that's the deal.
And you wander into Russia once in a while.
Yeah, or you try and keep them, hey, send that trawler back.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we really didn't need to go down that rabbit hole. Speaking of rabbit holes, Isabella is back.
Wait a second, you're doing 2? I thought it was Mark's turn.
I just found this one. I wanted to.
Okay.
Isabella.
It is your show.
I just want to get her out of the way. Because I think
mine's going to take.
Because I think this is going to segue.
no.
I think this is going to segue into Shawn. So maybe we'll do Isabella,
right.
and then Shawn will read his. Dear Mr. Soul of Detroit, you may remember Isabella is that sort of bitter beer face listener.
I like her emails.
Who was a very good and prolific writer. She got everything right except the facts. So she writes in.
Oh my God! Can Mark read this one, please?
Dear Mr. Soul of Detroit, I am sorry for emailing misinformation regarding a top dollar private school your children attended when they actually attended. It's no sarcasm implied. They attended a mere $12,000 per year each private school. I guess Liggett was one of those sarcastic gross point jokes I heard on your podcast. Speaking of jokes, a laugh right when you called me fit for a nut house right after you spent an hour last week detailing what an idiot.
Don't be mean to her.
No, she's just on a roll here. And my daughters went to Catholic school, but I don't know why people bring up people's kids, but maybe when you're an unhinged nut house.
Oh, come on, man.
Sorry.
Keep
No, she's on a roll.
Now, here's the real question. Why, when I gave Mark chocolate, he threw it back, but then he just grabbed his own? What the heck?
I didn't want it when you threw it at me.
So it was the wrong timing.
So you were
Timing's everything, Shawn. I know you don't understand that yet.
You were concerned. I took us off stride. Speaking of jokes, a laugh right when you called me fit for a nut house right after you spent an hour last week detailing what an unhinged wacko Spartan athletics makes you. A 50-something
she's right there.
College-educated white-collar man. We now know it was started by the Michigan players. That's coming out now. The end of this story will not bode well for the men in blue and that corn color.
Why? Because an LA attorney said so?
Yeah, an LA attorney who released a statement without letterhead. I'm not sure that he's actually a member of the bar, but I'm hanging on that guy because that's my only hope right now. 50-something, and John U. Bacon is weighing in now. Has anybody seen this? I got Jim Comparoni losing his mind.
I did. Oh, dude. Forget the email. Let's go down this road because, and I love Bacon. So
well, this is where she's really getting into me. But okay,
I love John Bacon. I think he's great. I have never had a problem. I know. Well, I just whatever. For me, I like him.
He's an excellent chronicler of the University of Michigan athletics.
What he wrote on his Substack is much better than how it was tweeted out because tweets can be taken apart and addressed. I thought his issue wasn't that, hey, what these people said is necessarily true or terrible because, once again, I don't care that Michigan State players are saying break his leg. That just doesn't bother me. I thought his bigger point was, why hasn't the Big Ten made any comment on this? Is it outside their purview because it's in the tunnel? I don't know. I thought that was a fair question to raise. Like, why is the Big Ten being so silent on this at all?
Oh, no. And I think that's right because, and I didn't remember this until Comparoni had mentioned it, that I think the Big Ten fined Michigan State when Devin Bush claimed he had been clotheslined. I think the Big Ten got involved in that whole thing. Well, Bacon,
even though it's
Bacon
not
also
a game,
suggests,
it's on a field. I don't know if that.
Bacon also suggests that maybe it's because Kevin Warren's son is part of the Michigan State football program, which I wasn't aware of. But
I'm not that big into conspiracy theories. I'll say that.
No, I think that's a bunch of hokum too.
What,
Brian?
Oh, I'll say no. So let me Isabella. Isabella deserves her due.
Mark, you almost had it.
No, hold on.
I want Isabella takes time to write very well thought. Even if ML finds it to be incorrect, she takes the time to write the email, so I want to hear it.
No, she does, and you have a lot of time for writing in a nut house. Not.
No, just read, please.
You may not use a pencil or a pen.
I'm not laughing at you, Isabella. By the way, I'm laughing.
Just read.
How consistent.
Yeah, no, it's not you, Isabella.
Maybe crayon, but
no, come on, just read.
She has access to a computer, or as she may call it, a devil machine.
Please.
Okay. A 50-something college-educated white-collar man rationalizing and justifying an unprovoked gang curb-stomping and helmet-swinging attack on a pair of teenage kids. Then you went on to say, with total sincerity, you personally would physically assault anyone who chirped little brother at you. Who's in a Kool-Aid drinking cult?
Yeah.
Who's tribal to the point of criminal behavior?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
And if something as pointless as college sport ball makes you so unhinged and partisan, why wouldn't politics and why wouldn't that leak into your writing? Take care.
All right. On that note, Isabel. Isabel, you're
Isabella,
back up
thank
here.
you for listening. Please subscribe to YouTube channel ML Elrick.
Isabel,
but I do want to. That last point kind of bothers me because you can easily separate topics in your mind. You can easily compartmentalize things in your life.
That's right. You can say, "Hey, there's inflation here, but there's also inflation in the world, and you can vote a certain way." But that's okay.
And the broken clock theory, Isabella's onto something because people have said horrible things to me as a reporter. Said incredibly inaccurate and cruel and mean things about me when I was briefly a candidate for public office.
That you're smart and handsome?
Including suggesting that I might be a white supremacist and that any picture of me with black kids was photoshopped. And none of it offended me. I mean, it all offended me, but none of it rose my bile to the point where I might consider, or at least admitting that I might consider slapping someone in the same way that the arrogance of the Wolverine fans does.
Okay,
so Isabella, crazy as a shithouse rat, got that one right. That's a weird thing, and I acknowledge it. Isabella,
Mark and I are with you, Isabella. And so is Brian Lynch, who writes...
And by the way, Isabella, I think pretty soon, if with the doctor's approval, you will be able to use a spork. It won't just be a spoon.
Isabella, it's not just
spork is handy.
It's not just you, Isabella. Here's Brian Lynch.
I love a good spork.
Here's Brian Lynch, who writes, just listen to the pod, or he said the post, I guess. U of M MSU game episode. My God. For ML being a dude that's, quote, from the streets. Oh, Mark. Oh, from the streets. God damn, is he soft. I know Mike has seen this. The other guys have it dead on. What an inferiority complex. How does a guy that tall have such a little man syndrome? Laugh out loud. Okay, that's the end of the email. He just typed laugh out loud.
You know, I would take him more seriously if he hadn't said it was involving the UN MSU episode. At no point did the Spartans take on the United Nations. Although if we did, we'd kick their ass.
It says here U of M.
No,
maybe I misspoke.
In the message line, it says UN.
Oh, well, in the text.
Attack a typo. That's on point.
In the text, it says U
of M.
You should
be a politician.
In text, it says U of M. Advocates responding to words with violence. Funny how he's a big man about disrespect, in quotes. I wonder why that's in quotes. With what he does in his media duties. So Mike Rataj should have knocked your block off that time, right? Can dish it out all day, but can't take it ever. Such a laughable, hypocritical blowhard.
I'm sure Brian is inadequately equipped.
Oh, I can't believe you're going there.
I have it on good authority.
Mark
I've seen your OnlyFans, Brian.
Mark and I are with you.
With a Y.
Mark and I are with you, Brian.
I kind of want to start the timer on this.
Dude can't even spell his own name.
Mark and I are with you, Brian.
Dear Elrick, I'd like to congratulate you on successfully morphing into that worm, Chad Livingood. When the state's political establishment wants to order 2 top-shelf bootlickers, they ask the bartender for an Elrick and Livingood. That's just a good line, right? You both wrote
the rocks.
You both wrote the same GOP concern trolling column this weekend. What are the odds? AstroTurfed party messaging in action. The lobbyists and apparatus creeps must line up to kiss your ass when you're in East Lansing. You are in the in crowd. Invites to their Spartan Stadium and LCA suites are forthcoming, I'm sure. Do your bosses not allow you to write anything critical of people at the top of the political establishment food chain, or is that a reflection of subservient disposition? While you are allowed to blow your load on back-to-back tabloid garbage featuring some irrelevant Wayne County.
Lots of blowing accusations from Mike.
Got me confused with Brian.
While you're allowed to blow your load on back-to-back tabloid garbage featuring some irrelevant Wayne County judge running unopposed and her Airbnb shit shack. Maybe this Sunday we can get another rehash of Lee Chatfield or Pete Lucino, or maybe dig up something on Melissa Carone. Such courage, such bravery. Keep up the good work, little toady.
Little toady, hey, I have a question. So
I want to hear his response.
No, but is blow hard... Does that mean you're a blowhard or you blow until it's hard? What does that mean?
What? Oh, you creep. Get your mind out of the gutter.
Well, I thought we were ending on some high-level political discourse.
But this person is talking about blowing too. What is with all the
now,
blowing?
Somebody from the streets like me understands that, but the mean streets of Grosse Pointe Park, and it actually was a road. It was Nottingham, or the mean road, but in a cabbage patch.
Yeah, and in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, right? Those streets.
I did occasionally.
I do have a problem with him complaining about taking shots at the top of the political establishment because Lee Chatfield was the top of the political establishment.
Yeah, he would probably be the next chairman of the Republican Party if he wasn't in so much trouble right now. But this is the beautiful thing is when I write about Democrats, I get attacked for being a Republican. When I write about Republicans, I get attacked for being a Democrat. And in this case, I get attacked for being against everybody, the Airbnb people, the and here's something that's come up that's kind of interesting. Just a little bit of context. I wrote about someone who moved from Harper Woods to Detroit to run for judge. Kept their house in Harper Woods, is getting a tax break on their home in Harper Woods, claiming it's their principal residence, when really not only do they not live there, they're using it as an Airbnb. Well, I have since found out that this person, Tanisha Yancey, who will now be a judge in Detroit, sponsored legislation basically telling municipalities don't mess with Airbnbs. So there's all kinds of conflicts here. There's all sorts of things that should be disclosed. Mm-hmm. And taxpayers in Harper Woods are getting dinged out of some money they're entitled to because this politician is trying to have their cake and eat it too, which is, pretty typical of politicians. But our job is to tell people that. So the reason why folks are mad now is because I wrote a column on Sunday, and we'll include a link on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com, talking about how Republicans want to overthrow the leadership of the state party because they did so poorly in the elections, and they feel that it's because they are so wedded to Donald Trump. And it's a debate that's playing out right now. And it's a debate that the only people who really are enjoying it are the Democrats, because they now run everything in Lansing, for better or for worse. And if Republicans don't get some more effective leadership, they will probably build on those numbers in 2 years when the House goes up for re-election again, and when congressional seats go up for re-election again, because John James, who one of the folks watching us on Facebook has said is the man, is probably a man with a bullseye on him in 2024, because the Democrats will want to retake the House, and they're probably thinking John James is vulnerable because he barely beat an old man with very little money. And Carl Marling is a fine gentleman, but he's a 75-year-old dude who didn't have the kind of money you need to compete in a congressional race. So. And as for Chad Livingood, hey, you know what? Chad's fine. He does his thing, I do my thing. And if anybody who thinks we're in lockstep may recall that when I was running for Detroit City Council, Chad Livingood raised some questions about a graphic we put up involving Governor Whitmer that really was not offensive at all, but he manufactured this big sort of woke quake that we had to respond to, because it's like, geez, what the hell? So, Chad and I, fine gentleman, nice man, good family, great dad, good brother and son. But we don't sing from the same hymnal.
Amen.
Oh, and then thus end us the sermon. So, so Shawn, we talked a little bit about Amani Bates, and you were you at the game at the LCA?
I was.
So tell us about this guy who looked like his career was about to be derailed by his dad, a gun, and too much too soon. And then he almost beats Michigan single-handedly, I presume.
No, it wasn't single-handedly.
And he didn't beat him in the tunnel. He beat him on the court.
Eastern.
Well, they didn't beat him, first of all.
But I mean, he tried. He tried to beat him.
Yeah, Michigan won the game. It was at Little Caesars Arena.
88-83?
Yeah, high-scoring game. Eastern Michigan actually has some talent. They've got a transfer point guard.
Yes.
Who's really good, right? And really fun to watch. And they got a few pieces. I would think if they can compete the way they did against Michigan, say in a gym that's 2/3 empty in February at Central Michigan, then they're going to be good. I mean, they're going to be fine. They'll have a shot to make the tournament, I would think. I mean, Stan Heath, who's their coach, who's an Izzo, former Izzo assistant from a long time ago, said after the game, as the first thing he said, we have a chance to be really good this year. So, and you coaches don't normally say that unless there's some truth to that. So, but Amani Bates, to your point, it became kind of a household, not a household name, but it was in basketball circles.
He was the next LeBron.
Or Kevin Durant, right? That's the player gets. But yes.
It's on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Cover of SI.
He was a high school kid.
He was getting hyped up I remember, because he was playing in Ann Arbor at a middle school, but he was starting to get talked about as the best. You know, Joanne Howard joked after the game, best fourth grader ever in the country, but it was really more like sixth grade, seventh grade, somewhere in there. He starts getting this hype. He reclassifies in high school, so he jumps ahead a year. So to your point at the top of the show, you said he was going to go to Michigan State. He didn't. He ends up at Memphis, which was just a total dysfunctional mess.
It was not a good fit on the court or off the court.
Quick aside, one of the reasons Troy Weaver, the general manager of the Pistons, wanted Jalen Duren, their rookie big man, has shown so much promise already, he's only 18, is because he played at Memphis alongside Bates, and Duren handled all that dysfunction remarkably well, and it was the way he handled it. But Duren's like 18 going on 30. Bates is 18, going on 14, or at least was. Mm-hmm. He's shown some maturity, and I think that showed up Friday night, not just in his game, but the way he played, the way he was with his teammates. And it's easy to blame his dad. I don't. His dad just saw, this really, really special talent and wanted to try to protect it, along with maximizing it, not for him, but
how's
for
his dad's
Amani.
high school doing? Is it still in business?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Of course, it's not in business.
Thank you, ML.
But the system is set up largely to make for everybody else to make money. The dad tried a different way to make sure they got their piece off their talent, his son's talent. You know what I mean? And it didn't work. Large part because he reclassified and he just wasn't ready. And that was a huge issue for sure.
Shouldn't have reclassified.
No, that was a mistake. Absolutely. But all the dad tried to do was say, hey, this system is set up a certain way for these elite talents. We don't think that's right. And it didn't work. But I don't blame him for trying. I guess my
question was,
he's a warrior for justice.
Why is he so different that he has to do it a different way than other elite athletes?
It's why I don't know. Why did
he's wrong? I'm just asking.
Why did we think that the Earth was flat and all of a sudden figure? Hey, somebody said no. I think it's round.
Some guys in the NBA still do.
No, right. No,
I
for
like
sure.
people that take chances, but I'm not nuts about someone making up their own online school so they could travel. It's like that's why.
No, he wasn't the first to do that.
I know he wasn't. I think wasn't like David Sills' dad in football.
There's been some others doing that. That wasn't even the issue. And even if he just done that, Mark, but it built a team and brought in some coaching. Now the dad coach, right? That was, and there's lots of dads coach. I coached at one point, not very good, but that's the thing. He didn't build a team where Amani had to play within a framework and then go up against a good competition. I mean, Jaden Akins, who's a good player for Michigan State, a promising young player as a sophomore, was on that team and left that team in part because of the politics of we're going to feed the Amani Bates the ball every time down the court. You know what I mean? That was the issue. Not that there was a team, but how they put that team
why
together.
The team existed.
Right.
And existed for Amani Bates.
But it should have existed to showcase everybody, and then you play team ball. The coaching he's getting right now at Eastern.
I would have thought that school would have existed to get kids a high school diploma.
He's
exactly.
getting
at some point.
When you have prodigies, we make exceptions in all other parts of life. We do. But when it comes to basketball or football,
the problem, I agree.
We get up on our high horse. It's bullshit.
Well, the problem is though that it was only about Imani Bates, but now you're bringing other kids into it, right? Like you just said.
No, absolutely.
Other kids into it and kind of messing with them.
That was the issue.
If that was the key, move to Europe and make money, right? Go play there,
like Kobe.
No, that was absolutely and even at Memphis, the dad was there were stories the dad was a little bit overzealous, trying to get involved with Penny Hardaway and that staff. In fairness, though, that staff is that's kind of a mess down there too.
The whole gun issue, right? Getting pulled over in the car with a gun and marijuana.
He was a great shooter.
I watched the whole body cam footage that was released. I felt really bad for him because it was one of those things like, I know I fucked up, but it really wasn't my fault is kind of how I felt. And his mom seemed to be calming and like, look, we'll take care of this. Whose gun was it? Because it sounded like it was somebody who was with the mom at the time. And whose car was it? Was it the dad's?
I don't know that it was the dad's. I don't know.
Was it Ward Emanuel's wife's?
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't remember whose car it was, but and by the way,
on that 911 call or the body cam footage, because actually they were recording inside the police car while he was on the phone. Whoever was with his mom at the time knew that he was in trouble because his gun was in that car.
That's right. That's right.
And so I mean, the natural assumption would be, I don't know.
And of course, people make assumptions. When you first see the headline, you're like, okay, yeah, right. That's not your gun. Okay, maybe it's not your gun, but then you're with a friend who's. So what are you doing? It's not the assumption that it's the mom's.
That's
and the
easy to say that.
No, I know, but people made assumptions like that, right? So he pled it down to a misdemeanor, I believe.
Yeah. Well, whoever gun that was seemed to be a little lax in the care of the weapon.
There's no question.
And it really kind of bit Imani Bates in the ass.
So he goes through all these struggles and has some growing up to do himself. He doesn't have people around him making the best decisions, although they're trying. We'll give him that.
His dad's a high school principal. That should help.
And anyway, so you're sort of thinking, well, okay. I mean, let's just go back for 1 second. This guy was predicted to be the next generational talent at the NBA in basketball.
Was he even going to go to college? Was he going to go straight to the league? Right? Wasn't that one of the questions?
Well, you can't do that. Although the NBA is about to change it, but go overseas for a year, or whatever.
Right.
Go to the G League now. That's an option. It's hard to understate just what people thought of his ability. LeBron's a good name. It's not the same game, but just in terms of the same fame and hype and ability to change the franchise. And so to go from that to washing out at Memphis, then he tried to go, Louisville was
washing out at Memphis.
He reached out at Memphis. Louisville to Michigan State, and these places didn't. They were like,
Did he try to go back to Michigan State?
I'll say yes.
He reached out.
It was too late.
He reached out to several, big time college basketball programs. And couldn't get it.
Yeah, Michigan.
Do you think Izzo directed him to Heath and just said, "I won't take you, but my boy will"?
That's entirely possible. Yeah, that's entirely possible.
I think it's very probable, to tell you the truth.
Well,
he looks good in green and white.
They also have. Well, Eastern also has Isabella. An assistant. Heath has an assistant coach, Drew Denekos, who was the film room guy at Michigan State, who's a promising young coach, and he's on that staff. There's other connections.
I had heard from the Michigan side, and I don't know if you can correct this or not, that he put Michigan on that list of his top 5, and they were like, huh? Because they had slots that were filled.
But he did that when he originally said he wanted to go to Michigan State. That shocked Izzo. They didn't know, right? I mean, he hung around. It was Cassius Winston's, was it junior year maybe? I'm trying to remember when I would go post game into the locker room and see Bates. He was off and up there, just kind of hanging around. He was tight, especially with Cassius. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's the long and short of it was nice to see.
So far, we've had the long of it.
Yeah, I know the way he played Friday night. He had that whole arena in the palm of his hand. The shot making, the level of shot making was just different than probably what anybody Michigan's going to see for the rest of the season.
You don't want to give Hunter Dickinson any credit for how he plays.
Yeah, well, it's a
leading scorer of the game.
Bully ball is kind of a different deal when you're 7 feet and nobody else is close to that size.
Still going to make the shots.
But from 2 feet from the rim, that's great. But no, he's an important player and he's a really good college player. But in any case, it turns out maybe he's
how's he in a tunnel fight?
He's not over, right? His career's just getting started. We have a tendency to say, "Hey, you're done," really soon, probably too soon.
Yeah,
we also have the tendency to anoint that you're the next great one.
We do
a
both
little too soon as well.
No, we do both.
Yeah. And it's not fair to kids. And when you put a kid like that on the cover of Sports Illustrated, you're almost basically cursing him because it's too much too soon. But I was the game was Friday night, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So Friday night, I went to go see the Spartans play Ohio State at Mon Arena.
Mm-hmm.
Great hockey game. Spartans are looking good. A lot of hitting. If you've never seen college hockey before, it's great, especially when you have Michigan and Michigan State play those guys. I
believe you didn't stay home and watch the Carrier game. What's the matter with you?
Well, I was in East Lansing. I was kind of out and about, and I had some time because I'm going to go to the hockey. So during the hockey game, I'm checking the basketball scores, and I'm watching what's going on with Gonzaga and Michigan State. And I have a feed where I see the different things, and I see the Eastern Michigan score. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be one of those, Michigan versus Slippery Rock abuse games, early season tune-ups, And it looked like it was a fantastic game, and I had to believe that that's the difference between having Imani Bates and not having Imani Bates, that you can compete against a team that's tournament worthy, that in the last decade, as much as it pains me to say, has played in 2 national championships, a major program, and you're the neighboring school that is, not even going to get the cast-offs from Michigan, that's maybe going to get the cast-offs from the best teams in the MAC, and all of a sudden, you're putting a fear of God into the Wolverines. And I don't know whether that game was ever in doubt, but
oh yeah, it was.
I never would have.
He had Imani Bates had a shot with less than 2 minutes to go with the game tied from right in front of me. I was sitting on the court on the left side, a 3-point shot that just missed. If he made that shot, they were going to win that game. I mean, of course it was in doubt.
It helped that Michigan couldn't make a free throw for the life.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, Michigan will be fine. They're young too in a lot of ways, and they've got new guys and transfers. They'll be good. But no, just the atmosphere, because Detroit loves basketball. We were talking about this before we started recording. They love basketball.
I will say it seems silly that 2 schools that are separated by 6 miles then have to travel 45 to go play basketball.
But it was nice to give them.
It's all about a payday, though, right?
I know.
And it gives the city a show. Izzo's done that with Michigan State. He played Oakland at LCA
all the time.
3 years. Yeah.
And I think that's important to come down
and I think, as Greg Campy would point out, Michigan State plays the winningest coach in Michigan college basketball, Mr. Greg Campy.
Yeah.
So I've heard him mention that before. It's like, try telling that to Tom Izzo.
Look, I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen the rest of the year with Imani Bates, but I'll end with this. He played, I don't know how many games at Memphis last year. It wasn't a full season. He didn't look anything like he did Friday night.
Well, he's playing in the right position.
That was by far the best he's looked in his collegiate career. I would contend probably since he was a freshman and playing at Lincoln and Ipsy and they won the state title. That was as free and comfortable as I've seen. And I've seen him play a lot in person.
Hyperbole.
I've seen him play a lot in person, and he looked great. And we'll see where it goes, but good for him.
Well, he definitely would have been the best player on that very expensive private school where I sent my girls.
Oh boy, that burned. That hurt.
Isabella!
Thank you, Isabella. All right, what's next?
So we love to get your feedback. Please write us at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. Next week, please make sure you join us for Lowell Caulfield, the author of Masquerade, a true crime novel about just an amazing crime that occurred in the Cass Corridor that has some people like me wondering how many parallels there are with this heinous murder of the former, well, I guess he was working for WWJ at the time he was murdered, a news anchor here in Warren. So that's going to be a great show next week. Please share the show, rate the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you'd care to donate, there's a button at mlsoulofdetroit.com where you can just click it and send us a little dough. We'd really appreciate it. So until next week, we always count on our friend Cyrus, who may be the greatest prospect ever. He never lets us down. He always delivers to take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
From shadows and stillness, mystery weaves a spell of strangest fascination, charging the mind with doubts and fears. For For mystery is a strange companion, a living memory in the
soul of Detroit.
Our